Good evening, everyone. Man, this daylight saving time really messed me up. I actually got to fix the panel at the bottom of my video, so that at the bottom of my stream channel, so that it doesn't appear that I'm streaming at 8:30 p.m. I feel like the Streamlabs panel should be smarter than that, but it's not. And you learn something new every day. So let's get off of here. As usual, give people a few minutes to kind of see the notification, get logged on, get set up. I'll send everyone, actually we need to fix this, but I'll send everyone the GitHub that we're gonna be building into. I'll put that in the chat. That actually did not work because I'm in a VM and I do not have bidirectional clipboard turned on, so that sucks. Let me just go ahead and type it in. People can hop in there. I'm gonna click it, make sure I type that properly. Cool, it takes me exactly where I want to go. Yeah, we're gonna be operating out of this repo tonight. We're just gonna, hop back on exorcism. I'll go back over exorcism a little bit more, but we'll just hop into some problems. We'll try to get through maybe two to three tonight. Really talk through how we get to the answer. Yeah, but I'll give people some time to get on, people time to get set up. Let me make sure everything is working here. I decided to get away from the Windows subsystem for Linux this week since it was causing me so many issues. Let me see if I can make this a little larger. Can that be seen? Yeah. So I have a Linux, a full Ubuntu VM here set up right now. It's gonna do the job. I just installed it like 20 minutes before this, so I don't have all my cool stuff, but this should work out pretty well. I think I have everything I need. We've got a terminal. Even though a terminal comes by default, we've got Visual Studio Code, which I like to use VS Code as well as Vim, but VS Code is a lot better on the eyes for everyone else. And yeah, other than that, we got Chrome. Gotta have Chrome. Can't do anything without Chrome. I think Firefox comes by default on here. First thing you do, just like a Windows computer or just like a Mac, you use whatever browser's installed to install Chrome so that you can actually be productive. Cool. And so here we have our, I have the repo pulled down. We have some of the stuff that we did in previous streams. I actually don't think we pushed everything. I might need to go back into all the folders we have. I know we did the Hello World and the Twofer. And tonight we're going to try, I figure we'll try a few different ones. Which is this? Yeah. Here. I figure we'll try some of the common ones. Again, want to start off relatively easy. But we want to start off with I think we're going to do the reverse string one. Maybe something a little more complicated after that with maybe the isogram or Hamming. I've done these a long time ago, and they're cool, but they're not quite as easy as this one. And again, we're gonna do this. I'm probably gonna do all the easier ones since tonight we're still in all the easy stuff, all the easy things. Probably gonna do one with Go, just because like Go's actually not very good for a lot of the easy stuff. You kind of got to do everything manually. It doesn't give you some of the cool tools. So I'll probably do it with that. So you learning Go. I am learning Go. I like Go a lot. I started learning Go about a year ago. I dove into it pretty heavily immediately. Took some time off from Go. But I do like Go a lot. I found that because I never learned C or C++, I found that it really helped me understand what I was doing. But it was also kind of clean and readable and it's pretty easy to write. Like it's pretty clean to write. So I like it. It's actually helped me, in other languages. It's actually helped me with my Python and my JavaScript, to be honest. So I'll probably be doing this with both Go last stream we did it with both Go and we did stuff with JavaScript. I'll probably do the same for some of these easier ones when we have time to kind of show you the difference in the syntax, and kind of show you how languages kind of, you know, you can achieve things in different ways using the tools each language has. So I don't actually think I have the Exorcism CLI on here, so this will actually be a good refresher for anyone who doesn't use exorcism.io. But yeah, if you don't know, exorcism.io is it's a free site to practice your algorithm skills, as well as, you know, your coding skills in the language of your choice. It's got all these language tracks here. You know, you can choose whichever one you like. One of the biggest reasons I'm using Go is because it has the most exercises on here. You can see it kind of has a few more than JavaScript, but you know, we can try these exercises in any language we want. If you don't know any of the languages that I'm going to be using, definitely use the language of your choice, and you know, see if you can write something along. Maybe shoot me a link to GitHub or something. You know, we can all take a look at it together and see how you got to the answer. Yeah, cool. Yeah. This is exactly what the site is. It's pretty cool. It's free. You can actually get mentors. There's a free mentor track where you can kind of upload your answers, and mentors will critique you. Take a look at it. There's message boards. You know, once you submit something, that you can check other people's answers and kind of talk about your answers as well. Yeah, Dart and Flutter are pretty cool. I'm actually only recently into the web development game, so like Dart and Flutter, I haven't got my hands on them yet, but I've definitely checked them out. I've watched a couple videos on them, and they do look pretty cool. So maybe some of the JavaScript stuff might be a little more interesting to you than the Go stuff, but now Dart and Flutter are pretty cool. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna get the CLI installed from this just because I don't have it set up. But let's go ahead and click reverse string. So as usual, this will give you like if you want to check which project you want to work on, or which exercise you want to work on. If you're in independent mode, it'll give you everything here. It'll give you, this is the same stuff that'll be in the README when you download it. And then you can grab the download from here. But I'm going to begin this walkthrough really quick. If this is your first time on here, go through, do the walkthrough. It'll show you how to install the command line tool on your computer. I am running this out of a Linux VM, so I'm going to click that. I know which architecture I'm using, so there's a 64-bit operating system. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to go to the release page. Let's copy this one. Copy link address, and I'm going to as much as possible on here, I'm going to try to use the command line to do things, so people can kind of see what happens. Just to show you, the command line is just I want to say it's a representation of the things that you see, but actually the things that you see are actually a representation of what's going on back here on the command line. But so I'm going to I'll open up a new tab, and I am going to a command called wget. So this is how you download things from the command line. So, you know, in the browser, you just kind of click on it and it will download. Instead, I'm going to use this wget command. You can also use something called curl to do the same thing, and that is going to download a file for me. So, I don't like what happened here. Something happened to my batch profile. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Let me see what actually happened here. I lost my formatting. Bash. No. I need my aliases. What do I have in here? Cool. All right, got it back. That's weird. What was I doing? Oh yeah, getting that installer. So I downloaded the package. You saw me run that wget command, which is how you download from the command line. It downloads. I'll make this a little bit bigger. It's going to download this file for me. So it downloads from GitHub. And you can see how I just downloaded it in my browser for me because I clicked on it. But it's going to download me an exorcism-linux-64bit.tgz. TGZ is what you call a tarball. This is it's kind of like a zip file. But you come here full time. So I do stream twice a week. I stream Mondays and Wednesdays. Well, I try to stream Wednesdays. I always stream Monday. I do my best to stream Wednesdays. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make a bigger effort to stream every Wednesday. Things for work and things come up. I do code for my job, but I also do it as a hobby now. I didn't used to do it as a hobby. I'm a DevOps engineer, so I deal with a lot of cloud computing and automation, a lot of systems. So I didn't used to do too much coding in my free time for fun, but I'm a little more hands-on now with the app team and kind of learning like web development things. So I'm actually working on a lot of projects right now for myself. Usually my projects were like, Docker projects and things like that, and setting up systems and spinning up cloud infrastructure and things like that. Getting to know that stuff. So I am doing it a lot more as a hobby, but I do code for my full-time job. Yes. So when we're in that wget, it downloaded this file for us. We didn't have it before. You can see the date is, that's the date it was uploaded there, and not today's date. But I need to unzip this. So the same way you would unzip, a zip file, we need to extract this. So Exorcism will tell you how to do that, but I know how to do it, so I'm going to do it myself. But it's, now I'm not, because I'm looking at the answer, but it's tar, and that's the name of the command, and you pass some flags to it for extract and force, and I think the F means force for tar, and then we can add a few other ones if we want to kind of get more output. We can add a verbose output to kind of see what's going on, but let's actually just see what tar has. Let me scroll up, because I don't know what F does. I just want to see what it does really quick. So what you're seeing me do here is use the manuals that are built into Linux to kind of find out, what it is that I'm doing. It's a little annoying to read at first. Definitely take some time to get comfortable doing this. And this is just telling me that I can use a file or a device archive. So this means I can specify the file that I want to use. It's telling you that I'm going to pass in a file. So we're going to do tar B F to get a little verbose output, and we're going to name that file that we just downloaded. You're going to see it's going to do a bunch of stuff, and then it made this .exorcism folder. Whoops. So if I do another listing here, and now I should have, yes. Did it make it somewhere else? Well, now I have this exorcism executable. I thought it made it an exorcism folder. I didn't read what it said. Oh, okay, yes, it made an exorcism executable. So that command line tool that we're going to be using, the exorcism has, and put it right here. So what I can do now is, let me click walk through again just so you can follow through the commands, but I need to move this to a different place so that I can call it every time. I'm actually not going to do what it says here. I'm going to move this to my bin folder so that I can call it by name whenever I want. Let's close that. I'm going to move exorcism. Let's copy it in case I mess up. Copy exorcism to /user local bin. And I only know this because of my extensive use with Linux, but everything that's in here is a part of my path. And the path is an interesting concept. I'll be making some YouTube videos about this. I've done a stream about a lot of this Linux stuff, but I want something that's a little more permanent. So I'll definitely be doing some YouTube videos about it so that you can understand that. But this just is going to allow me to call exorcism by name whenever I'm ready to. So I'm going to copy it there. And it gave me a permission denied because the place I'm trying to copy it to needs kind of administrator privileges to be able to copy it there. So I'm going to add that sudo command, which is going to kind of escalate my privileges to, administrative user. It's going to ask for my password. I typed it in. For security reasons, you can't see it. That's going to be on every Linux box. And it moved it there. Let me rerun this. So now if I do exorcism, cool. I call this exorcism command by name, and it tells me I have all these things available to me. This is how we know that we've installed it properly. That's all the stuff will tell you. And it'll just give you some ways to troubleshoot if that didn't work for you. I think on Windows it should be a little, it should be a executable that you can just click on that'll install it for you. And on Mac, I think it'll give you something very similar to this. So cool. So now, now that you have that, now that I have it, I need to configure it. So it gives you a token, an API token to be able to access and authenticate with exorcism.io. And again, this is all free, so it's pretty cool. But paste that in, your token will be unique. Try not to steal my token. I'll probably change it after this live stream, to be honest, so no one else can kind of hop in there. But it lets me know that it did that for me. And now, oh, actually, gave me an error. The default workspace is home, Aaron, exorcism. There's already something there. Cool. I actually think that's fine, but we'll see. And if I can't copy and download this, I won't change it. But I'll paste this in. So I need to change my workspace. There's nothing here. They lied to me. Home, Aaron, exorcist. Oh, okay. They wanted me to move it, so. What basically is happening is it's trying to create a folder of the same name of the executable that I copied. I should have moved it instead of copying it, so it would have been out of the way. But I'll just delete it since everything's working fine. And I'll download this Go track. Whoops, I never actually ran this. And then, so basically that just sets up this configure command that they give you. So don't worry about not knowing what that is. They'll give you that configure command. It'll configure everything you need. And then you can run this download command. So this download command that I just copied from Exorcism, it'll use the Exorcism command line tool to download everything you need. So it tells you where it downloaded it to. It downloaded it to this path. So we'll copy that and then we'll change it into there. And you can see here, I downloaded these files for. So let's go ahead and open them up in our editor. So now we can actually get to coding tonight. So what we're going to do here is, sorry, one second. We are going to take a look at the files that we have. So we've got this README. So all of them are going to come with a README file, with a README Markdown file that's going to tell you everything that you need to do and what it's going to expect of you. So all it wants us to do is actually, let's take a look at it in preview mode. So we get all the cool formatting of a Markdown file. Cool, reverse string. That's the name of this exercise, the name of this project. And the exercise is to reverse a string. Pretty simple. This is a lot less instructions than a lot of the other things you're going to run into. So definitely enjoy this short Markdown file. So for example, if we have the string cool, the word cool, we want the output to be Luke. So we just want to, take something in and reverse it. So that's pretty important. And we'll talk about how we're going to get there. The reason I'm using Go to do this specifically tonight is because Go does not have any cool functions or anything built in that allow you to do this easily. We're going to have to do this manually. It's going to be a good way to kind of figure out some of the tools and things that we have available to us in Go. In coding period, we'll definitely learn a few coding concepts that help us solve problems like this. Then it just gives you some information. Exorcism, if you've never done something called test-driven development, Exorcism Exorcism comes with tests that you have to satisfy. So it's pretty cool. They're already written out for you. Sometimes you have to modify them. Most of the time you don't. And it lets you know how to run the test. This is for every language. And then it just gives you some other stuff that you don't really need to worry about. Just worry about the stuff above the running the test section, and then running the test. If you don't know how to run the test in the language that you're using, definitely pay attention to that. So we take a look at that file. We'll keep this open, and let's open up. Let's look at the files that we have here. So we have a cases test.go file, and we have a reverse string test.go file. So let's open up both of these, and I'll talk through what they are. So this is by far one of the most overwhelming things, because this is supposed to be one of the easy problems. And Exorcism actually didn't used to be like this. You used to kind of just get the problem, you would solve it, you upload it, all good to go. What you have here is you've got these test cases that were written. So we actually have, using the testing library that Go has built in, someone wrote some tests here to check that when we pass in things that are that we're getting the proper output. This is very important. Kind of understanding how to test code, how to do unit tests. That's what these are. These are unit tests, checking the functionality of our code. But these will guide you in your code. You actually have to code to these tests to be able to solve them properly to make them pass. And so we'll hop into that. So this file here are the tests themselves. And again, I know it looks overwhelming. Don't worry about what they are, what everything is going on right now. We'll kind of go through it as we're actually solving the problem. And then here is the test cases it's going to test against. So basically here, it's got a bunch of things it's got a description. It's got what it's going to pass into the test, and then it's going to pass in what it expects to get out of the test. So, our goal here is to reverse a string. A string just being a collection of characters. Characters each, being these letters, spaces, things like that. So when we pass in a word, we pass in a word. That word being robot. We expect to get Tobor, and that's to reverse a robot. So we just have a bunch of test cases here, with various capitalizations, various punctuations, things like that. So we just want to, have a full test suite to kind of test against, many of the things that we might want to do with something like this. But what it doesn't give us here, in the beginning, it gives you stubbed files to work with for a lot of these packages, but this time it does not. So we got to start from scratch. So we're going to create a new file here, and we're going to call it, you can call it whatever you want, but we're going to, just to keep up with everything else, we're just going to call it reversestring.go. Pretty simple. Go ahead and hit enter. We've got our, own file now, blank file to start with, and we will, I'll close this over here because we don't need to see that. You don't really need to see the test, but I'll double pane this so that we can refer to our test and we can code against our test file. So the package of our test file is package reverse. In Go, your package that you are running against has to be the same package. So we're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to do package reverse. Cool, easy. This is the same setup you're gonna have to do for most Go code. This is the kind of most annoying part, and then all the rest of everything after this initial setup. Pretty much you can kind of compare it to all of the coding languages. If I hopped in and did this with JavaScript, which doesn't take a lot of extra stuff, you'll end up seeing that the code is actually quite similar for a lot of these things. But we can do our imports now. Don't really know what we're going to be using here. For some testing purposes, maybe we'll just be using the FUMT package. This is how you format stuff and print stuff to the screen to stand it out. So maybe we'll use that. So that's a pretty standard package to use in a Go project, but you could just leave it alone. And Go, that FUMT package will actually when you save your file, it will actually add things to it by default, packages that you add from the standard library. It'll actually add it for you by default, but we'll just leave that in there for now. Cool. So now we have nowhere to start. Now we're ready to start our code, but again, this is going to be testing a very specific type of file. So we need to know what to put in here. So normally, we start writing a main function. So in Go, every program has to have a main function. That's the function that runs whenever this is executed. But this is not a main package, so we need to take a look in here and see what it's going to check against. So we've got this function that's going to be testing reverse. It's going to pass stuff in here. And you can see here, it's going to. You don't need to worry about this, but it's going to pass. It's going to pass the stuff into in a function called string, and it's going to pass the test case in and the response, and it's going to test against that and give us an error if it doesn't pass, but if it does pass, it's going to give us a message saying that it passed. But we know here that the function that's going to be looking for is called string, so I will use that. So I'm going to create a function here. So for anyone who doesn't know, a function is a piece of code that has a certain small piece of functionality that you may want to you write functions so that you can reuse this code later. It's a modular piece of code that you can call to do a very specific task. So we're gonna write we're gonna set up our function here. So we're gonna do func string, and again I'm calling it string only because that's what it's expecting. If we were just writing a file to do this and we weren't writing against any tests, we could call this whatever we want. We could leave it as the main package. I can name it myself. Doesn't really matter what it's called, but that's what we need here. So I'm going to say it's going to take a variable. So this function, this piece of code that we need to run, functions can take information. You can pass information into a function. That function can run its bit of code. It can move things around, and it can do its calculations, and then it can spit something out for you. It can spit data out for you that you can use. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass in a string. So we know here from the README that we want to be able to reverse a string, and we've got example input here, and we know our tests. We know that our tests are all going to pass in these random strings and expect an output. So we're going to put that in here. So a string, we can call this first thing anything we want. This is going to be a variable placeholder for what the string is going to be. I'm just going to call it S. I could call it I could call it anything, I think except for any of the reserved keywords. But in Go, Go is strongly typed, it's strictly typed. So I've got to tell it the type of the variable that I'm passing in. So types are things like we talked about strings, which are a list of characters. There's things like integers and floats, which are decimal numbers. There's all kinds of things. There's arrays. There's all kinds of things, types in Go, or in all coding languages. In Go, you've got to tell it which ones you're going to be using. So basically, I'm telling it I'm going to pass in data. And that the data is going to be referred to, the placeholder for that data is S. And again, I can call that anything I want. I can actually, make it my name. Doesn't really matter here. I'll change it back to S, but I just want to show you that it doesn't matter what we call it here. But this part does matter, and that's why it's in blue. That's actually why we're using VS Code, so you can kind of start to see visually kind of what the things you're doing and like what's going on. So, in a function in Go, you've also got to tell it the type that you're expecting to come out of it. So we're going to pass in a string, and we also want a string to come out of it. If we wanted to pass in a string and return an integer, I could put int over here, and the program would actually fail to compile if I were to pass in this string, do a bunch of stuff, and spit out a number. That doesn't work. And whenever I will go to compile, it will let me know that. But we're going to pass in a string, and we want to get out a string. Fairly standard. So we've got the shell of our function set up. Now we just need to actually do it. So again, I told you Go does not have anything easy to allow us to do this. It doesn't have a reverse function. Some languages you can just kind of just do like Aaron.reverse, and that will reverse the string for you. There's some pretty cool tools like that, but we don't have that available to us. So how are we going to do this? So remember I told you that a string is a list of characters. One of the ways that I like to approach stuff like this, especially with Go, is to first, I kind of want to break these characters up into their own individual elements. So, if I was going to pass in the string Aaron, like if I was going to pass in the string Aaron, to be able to work with this easier, I don't want to kind of split it up to 5 separate things. So A, R, O, and N. And so that's what I'm going to do first. So I actually need a new package, but I want to see if VS Code will do it for me. I'm going to make a new variable, and I'm going to call it split. And split, well, I'll make it, let's change this back to S, so it's a little more simple. and I'm going to make it split S. You can call variables whatever you want. Variables are placeholders for they're containers of data that can be changed. But we're basically creating a variable here called split S, and what that is going to be, there's a package in Go called strings, and I want to see if it'll add it for me without me having to import it manually. I think I can do strings dot split. And VS Code is also good in this way because it'll show you kind of how to use the stuff that it has in here. Again, all documentation is kind of hard to read initially. It'll definitely take some time to understand what it's doing, but it's letting me know that I have this function for splitting that I can pass in a string and a separator, and here's the output. So remember, we talked about a function taking an input and output type is basically telling me I can pass in two things. I can pass in a string. I can pass in a separator, so the thing I want to split on, and it'll return to me these bracket strings. So this bracket string is actually something called a slice of strings. In most other languages, this is going to be something called an array. An array is an index list of elements. So I said Aaron would be a string. It would be a list of characters, but they wouldn't be indexable. Well, they actually are indexable, but we can create an array which splits them up into 5 individual pieces, one with each character, all in an index spot. And I'll show you guys what that means in a little bit. And that's what it returns to you. This is a very different type than string. String and type slice of string are not equal. An array of a string basically and a string are not equal things. But we'll do that. So we can click on this to see how to use it again. Well, okay, so I remember the first thing was to pass in I could pass in a string. So basically what's going to happen here is the string gets passed in here, and it kind of heads down into our function. We're going to reference that same string right here with S again, and a comma. And then we need a separator. So the separator is going to be the thing that you want this to separate on. So I could have a string like this. I could have a string that's like Aaron is really Aaron cool the man. This doesn't make any sense, but this is just a string. This is a sentence. I could tell it to split on the letter A, maybe. So basically, what we would end up with, the output of this, if we ran split on letter A on this string here, we would get a slice of strings, and the first element would be an A because we split on A. Second one would be another A because it will split up these first two A's. The next one would be, Ron is really, and then it'll wait for the next A and it will split there. So it would just we'll just keep going like this. A, comma A, and then it would finish out cool the man. And so we'll split them up into their own individual elements, all in the separator that you passed into here. So what we're going to do here is we are going to pass in no separator. And what no separator does is it's going to split this string on every single letter. So it'll return us this array with every single letter as its own element, which is pretty cool. So you can actually see this in action. So let's do that, and let's format that print line. We're going to print out the value of this variable here. So I'm actually going to copy this. We are going to go into, close this, sorry. We're going to go into the Go playground because because you need that main function and you need a main package. Actually, it's kind of hard to run code for Go when you're doing stuff like this. So Go has the Go playground here that we can use. This is a web, like a web-based, like it's not an IDE. It's just a little toolkit, little sandbox here that you can use. But what we're gonna do is, actually, I don't need that. We're gonna take the code that we wrote, What happened here? Cool. We're gonna take the code that we wrote, and we're gonna throw it in here, and we're gonna test it. So, split S strings, not split S. Actually, no. Let's actually take our entire function. Take the whole function. Let's paste it above this main function. So we got a function string. I'm actually going to lowercase it because in Go, a capital S means you're exporting that function, and that to be used in another file. We're not going to be doing that here. I'm going to call this example. I'll change the name to example string. Again, the name doesn't really matter. So we got our code here. This is the same code. We're actually gonna, instead of doing that, we're just gonna return. We're gonna return this variable. And so a function, it runs that piece of code. But for you to get the output, for you to get this thing, you have to actually explicitly return it. And that tells it, hey, you know, run this bit of code, do all the stuff you want to do, and then actually take this data and expose it to whatever else needs it. And then in here, in the main function, we can call the function up top. So we can do format.println is how you print something to the console. This is the same thing as like console.log in JavaScript, or in Python, things just print. And we will print out. The way you call a function in any language, almost any language, is just to call the name of it. So example string, and then put some parentheses there. That calls the function that'll run what's inside it. And so if I ran that, it would run, but nothing would happen because we didn't have it print out anything. So I'm going to put that function, I'm going to put the function inside this print statement. So example string, cool, example string. So cool. So if I run this, actually, so let's do this. Let's add imports. Let's format it. You see, once I formatted it, that's why it goes cool. And added the strings package because I'm using the strings package here. These are all things that are part of the standard library. And I click run. It's gonna fail. And it's gonna fail because I'm not passing in a string here. So it's expecting me to pass in something. I'm not passing anything. So a string. It's gonna pass in my name here. Format again. Don't need to format. I can just run it, and I'm gonna run it. Cool. What's gonna happen here is it's saying it's gonna give you your errors down below, and it's very important that you learn how to. Let me put this up here. That you learn how to read your errors. And so the first thing it tells us, you cannot use split S type with it cannot use split S with the type of slice of string as a type string in return argument. So two things. I'll take a second, take a look at it, see if you can see why it's giving us that. So it is giving us that because one, we split the string up, which this actually returns, we looked at it before, returns a type slice of string, and then we try to return it. A slice of string is not the same thing as string. So it's going to give us that error. So what we have to do is tell it that we want a slice of string to return. And this will change later. We're just doing this so we can kind of test what we have going on. And then let's go ahead and format that. Let's run it again. Cool. Now we got another thing. Undefined example string. What does that mean? Take a look at it. I'll give you 10 seconds to kind of figure out what's going on. This is a very important step in learning how to code. It's kind of troubleshooting and figuring out what you did wrong. And I'll give you a hint. What's going on here is probably the most common of issues that you may face. Yep, you guessed it. It is a spelling error. So I have the name of the function here is example string, and right here I have example string, which is wrong, completely incorrect. So it doesn't know what to do. So let's spell it right. example string. Cool. So we're gonna run it again, and it runs. It gives us the output we're expecting. So it gives us a slice of strings with Aaron split up as its own individual elements. You can also do, and just to show you that they're all their own individual elements, you can do another print statement. And actually, we can just leave it like that. How do you... I actually don't know how to find... I always forget how to find the length of something in Go. I don't know if it's dot length or if it's... it's just length. Where's it at here? Slice length. That's not what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, it's just len. It's its own function called len. Well, by the name of len, which is short for length, obviously, and so it should be able to do. But you can even see I've been doing this for a little while, and I forget what to do. But remember, the word Aaron has 5 letters in it, and this is telling us that the array of strings also has 5 characters. So that shows you that it's 5 individual items. Cool. So that's the first way you can go ahead and check your code. So we did that. So we kind of know what this will do now. This will split up whatever we pass in here. This will split it up into its own individual letters. And then let's go ahead and do, one second. This is, let me move this box back, get everything set up. Cool. And now we can, there's a million ways to solve this, but let's go ahead and set up another empty variable. So we're gonna set up one called reverse string, and that's going to be a slice of string. So what we're going to do is set up this is an empty variable here. We're just setting up a variable named reverse string, same way we set up this variable. And you may be asking yourself, why why does this and this look different? So this right here in Go is a shortcut. You can kind of combine basically this. So the line up top is the same thing as split s, var, split s, string, and then running this right after. Split s is equal to this. So this section here, these 2 lines, is the same as this line. This line up here is the shorthand version of this right here. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up an empty variable of this name with type string, and then I'm instantiating it, and then I'm giving it a value. Here you're doing all in one line. What I want to do here is I want to instantiate a variable called reverse string of type slice of string, but I don't want to give it a value just yet. We're gonna build this string back. So we've got our individual letters to work with. We're gonna go ahead and build this back. And then what we're gonna do is in the last video we talked about some loops and looping through data. So loops allow you to basically loop through, go through a data set or go through a list of things and perform a function or perform some actions in code and allow you to do them iteratively, so over a lot of different pieces of data until a certain conditional is satisfied. So we're going to use Go actually only has 4 loops, and what we're going to do with that is we're going to call a for loop, and basically what we want to do is actually first let's talk about indexes really quick. So I think I still have that stuff up here. Let's go in here. So we saw the length is 5. Let me print this out again. Run. Cool. There's 5 things here. So these arrays and slices, they're something called 0 index. They're They're arrays and slices of 0 indexes, and that just means the first index in here is at the slot of 0. The second one at slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So this isn't the first. This is the first item, but this spot is not the first spot. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I were to do something like let's make another variable called test. Let's use the shorthand. Let's set it equal to the output of this function, and then let's print out that print line test. And you can use this notation to pick a specific item in an array or a slice. So 0. So I want to print the 0 index of test. So if I run, it only prints out A. A being the first item, and it's at the 0 index, so it prints it out. So what's going to happen if we want to print out N? You may have been thinking that you would say 5. You know, there's 5 letters. I'm going to print the last one, print 5. We run that. We get an error, index out of range. What does that mean? That means we picked a number that is higher than our index count. And again, that's because it starts at 0 and not at 1. So we go to 4. If we want to access this, it's actually 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This should give us N. Cool. So because you can access items at this index, at this index number, you can manipulate these things and access them how you want, and you kind of move them around the way you want. And so that's what we're going to use today, just so you can kind of learn how to use a for loop. There are other ways to do this, but show how to use a for loop to build this string. So we're going to do for. So there's actually 2 ways to do for loops. So by default, if I do this, you get this weird thing at the top. This is VS Code giving me the standard way to write a for loop. And before I talked about this conditional, so this is actually a very similar syntax than like JavaScript or a lot of other languages for loop, where you set. I'm setting a variable. This word could be anything. It doesn't have to be index. Usually, you're using indexes to kind of maneuver through your for loops. This could be anything. This is how you're setting up your iterator, or the variable that's going to be iterated against. So you're just setting something equal to 0, and then you're basically setting a conditional here. So basically, you're saying while this is true, while this thing is true here, so I'd have an index number and a count number that I'd be evaluating. They'd have some values, and as long as index is less than count, I want to run this for loop. I want to run whatever's inside of here, and then every time it's finished, I want to add 1 to the index variable. So it starts out at 0, it'll go through and it'll run once, and this will become 1, and then it runs again, it'll become 2, runs again, it'll become 3, and eventually, whatever you have count to, index will become will no longer be less than that. It'll become greater, and this will stop running. So again, it's conditional. So as long as it's true, this will run. As long as the value is true, it'll run. But we're actually not going to use this. We are going to use something cool in in Golang called range. And maybe if I go to go by example. This is another way to use a for loop. Loops. So go by example. If you do want to learn Go by example is a cool site that kind of shows you how to do a bunch of the common things, and shows you examples of them if you're someone who learns better by example. Let's go to range. So range here allows you to iterate over elements in a variety of data structures. So not just arrays, all kinds of things, and to go through all of them without having to write that same type of conditional statement. And you kind of see how it is. It still uses that for loop, and then it just kind of does it in a little bit different of a way. So we are going to do this instead because this is a little bit easier on the eyes, and I think makes a little more sense. So I'm going to make a variable here. So this first thing, the the range function actually spits out two things. It spits out something called an error. Well, not something. It spits out an error and a value. So all this is saying here is, you know, for this, eat the error. Because I put a line here, I'm just going to eat this error. If it errors, I really don't want to see it. I could assign it to a variable. I could give it something weird and handle that later. But if it's the error, I just want to throw it away. I don't really care about that right now. And letter. So basically, I'm saying here for each letter in the range, basically, of split S, which is our string, I want you to do something for me. So so for every single item, and this could be literally, I could call this anything I want. I could call it index like the other thing had it. I'm going to call it letter because I'm looping through a bunch of letters. I want to do something. I want to do something cool like this. I basically, because we can use those numbers, let me go back in here, those index numbers, what I basically want to do is run, Z copy. What I want to do is I want to take this the one that's in the last spot, and I want to stick it in somewhere else, and then I want to take the next one and I want to put it after it, and I want to take the next one, I want to put it after it, to essentially manipulate this string or this array of strings into being reversed. And we can do that in a few different ways. So up here, I instantiated this another. So split S actually is of type slice of string. I instantiated another variable called reverse string, which is a type string. It actually may make more sense if I do reverse split S. So I have this new variable here that's going to be the reverse of split S. So basically what I actually want to do here, I'm going to be taking all the stuff in split S, that split S variable that we have, which is going to be my name. It's going to have those 5 letters, and I basically want to take them and shove them into this new slice called reverse split S in reverse order. So we've already set up our function here to kind of go through everything. And actually, did anyone type anything in the chat? Okay, cool. So all we're going to do is we're going to do reverse split S equals, and I know that to add something to a slice or to an array, I have to do something called append. And so you actually saw here, it told you what append did, and it just tells you how you can, you run the function, you pass in the slice, and then you pass in the elements and types, and it will append that stuff for you. So I'm going to append. I'm going to get this as a built-in function. We're not using anything that's not built into Go to solve this. So I'm going to pass in this. We're going to call it string letter. Okay, 1 second. So what this is saying is I'm running the append. I'm passing in every time this runs, every time this loop runs, it's going to set letter equal to whichever letter it's on currently. So the first time it's going to be A, second time it's going to be A, third time it's going to be R, fourth time it's going to be O. So letter is going to be something different every time. And then I actually put, so what this is saying is I'm going to append the slice of string and the string. So this is what I'm doing, something called typecasting here. It's already a type string, but this allows me to shove this into the string that I want. or into the array that I want. And this is what you call, so these dots here, this is actually called a variadic function. So you could see a function that's like, I think you can see one that's also something like this. And it would basically, it says take any number of strings. I can pass it any number. It could be 5, maybe 10, 20, 100. But this is going to be the opposite. And what we want to do, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't type out the whole thing. So cool. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking each of the letters. I know the syntax is a little weird, and kind of understanding exactly what's happening here is a little weird. But I'm basically taking each of those letters, and this will run once for every letter, for everything that's in this split S slice, and it's going to append it to this, and then I am just going to return that. Well, first, let's take this and let's go back to the playground so you guys can see what's happening with this. So now I've made a reverse split S. I'm gonna take split S, append it, and then what happens first, I'm gonna just return reverse split S so that you can see that stuff is getting put inside of it. This is not the end of it, but I'm just gonna return it, and then I'm gonna run that and format and run this undefined. So let's go ahead and troubleshoot. So line 14 tells you the line number here, also tells you the character number starting from the beginning of the line. 25, 14, undefined split S. Oh, whoops. Still undefined split S. So line 13, full range of split S. That should be right. Let's see here. Letter. That's, oh, capital S. See? Typos. The issue is that it's saying split S with a capital S is undefined, which it is because we call this split S with the lowercase. Perfect. Lowercase. There we go. Let's run that. Cool. So we got rid of our first error. Let's go ahead and head to the second one. Undefined reverse split S. We can pretty immediately see, because it's the same issue happened up top, that we're missing a letter here. So typos will kill you. That's why I use Visual Studio Code, because colors and things will change and kind of indicate this stuff before you get to this point. We'll run this, and just like that, we've have our string reversed. Yeah, we've got our whole string reversed here. Well, we don't have our string reversed. We have a reversed slice of the characters that we had, and so this will work with anything that we pass in. So if we pass in the word 5, run it, we get it backwards. And so anything you pass in, let's pass in something with a space. Hello world. Same thing. Space counts as a character, so it will follow it properly. You can add in all kinds of stuff, exclamation points, and it'll do that accordingly. And again, that's why you want to write things in functions, because we want to run this piece of code on anything that we pass into it. But now that we've done that, how do we actually get it back to be a string? So now it's a slice of string, but we want it to be a string. We want the output to be a string. So inside of here, we know that we are expecting these test cases are going to be expecting strings, not the slice of string. It's going to be expecting a string. You can also see here in the test cases, it tells you the types of each of the things that it's going to be inputting and outputting. So we can do one more thing. We can return. So again, I told you a function. You have to return something, and we can use something in the strings package and actually just pull up the Go docs. So again, get good at reading documentation. Golang has a pretty good documentation, not to be confused with Google Docs. In here, so if you don't know how to do anything, if you don't know how to do stuff with a standard library, you can definitely hop into here and check that out. But I'm going to go into documents. Let's get rid of this, make it a little larger. Packages. And so currently, if I didn't know what to do here, I kind of already know what packages I have available to me, well, at least for this process. I know that I'm messing with a string here. I know that I want to take a slice of strings and turn it into a string. And so I may just go in here and, see if I can do a find on the page and see anything that talks about some strings here. So there's only 5 things on this page. And I can see that I have, this package of strings, which implements a simple function to manipulate UTF-8 encoded strings. That's just a type of encoding. You don't need to worry about that too much right now. It is something that's important, but you don't need to worry about what that is to solve these problems. Definitely look into different types of encodings. But this is likely what we want. Or we could use something maybe in the string conversion or string conv package implements conversions to and from string representations of basic data types. That actually sounds like exactly what we want to do. Because we're trying to convert from a different data type to a string. But I know what we want is in strings. And once you get in here, you can kind of look around and find the things you want to do. We use split to split things up. It's logical that you would also be able to put it back together from here. And it may take some time to figure out, which thing to use. You may have to look through a lot of them. Or you can just Google it. Someone will give it to you. But I do encourage us, if you Google an answer and they're using a function or something that you've never seen before, hop into the documentation and figure out exactly what's going on. Figure out exactly what those things are doing. So I know we can use this join function to do what we're trying to do here. And so this gives you a little bit what you're doing. So basically it's a function. Whoa, what happened? It gives you a function called join, and it's going to take in a slice of string. So we know that's what we have. We know that we are, getting an output of a slice of string. And passing a separator, just like we did with the splitting of strings. And then it's going to return us a string. So it's perfect. We're looking for something that takes in a slice of strings and returns a string. This little bit of information gives us everything we need. And it tells you a little bit of what it is here. Join concatenates the elements of a, and looks like it's missing something of basically, of a. They should rewrite that. That's weird. Basically they're saying it concatenates the elements of variable A to create a single string. The separator is placed in between the elements in the resulting string. So it shows you an example here. This is just all Go stuff. Lets you know that's important. The strings package which we're going to be using in the print package, and that it's going to take a slice of string, and inside that slice of strings it's got foo, bar, and baz, and then it's going to use this join function, pass in the slice of string here. It's going to pass it in, and then it's going to join them all with a comma in between, and then you can run it from here to kind of see what the output is. And so all that did was it took foo, which is the first element. Even though there's a comma here already, that is part of the slice, but not actually part of the items in the slice. So I wonder if yes, I can change it. That's awesome. So if I changed the comma, is it added a comma here and a space? I could actually change it to like a plus. And so the separator is going to get inserted in between each of the items. So if I do run, it's going to do foo plus bar plus baz. And I can put spaces on both sides, do a little spacing. But this is how we can create, a string out of that slice of strings. So we are going to follow this same thing. So we're gonna do, let's do it in here, return. Let's go with, we're gonna call the package. So I could make this into its own variable, but I'll do it in one line here. Strings.join, what do we call? So I need to pass in something. So reverse split S is what we want to pass in, because we know that is a slice of strings, and we want to put it together on nothing. We want the separator to be nothing. So we want the characters to run right up against each other. And that's probably all we need, actually. Let me save this. Let me split S. I don't know why I did that twice. So let's go back to the playground. And let's actually return, what is it? Strings dot join at a separator, which is nothing. And then, so we're going to return this. And so basically what it's going to do is it's going to run this function first, and then return the result of that function. So let's run that. Cannot use strings. Got another error. Cannot use strings.join. And then what it tells us we have type string as type. So can I use type string as a type slice of strings in return argument? Why is that? And I'll give you a few seconds to kind of take a look. It's something we talked about before. It's basically saying that we cannot return a string here. We cannot return this because it's a string. And basically you said type string was going to be coming back. So see if you can see where we need to change things. Cool. So that remember we had in Go, you got to tell what it's going to be, what type it's going to be passing in, and what type it's going to be sending back out. This will now be a string and not a slice of string, so we can change this back to string. Run it again, and cool. So now it's no longer, those brackets are no longer around it. It's one complete string here, and we can do Aaron. And you see my name's backwards, and we can type hello world again. Run it again just to test, and we can see, you know, it's done what we want to do. So let's go back to our code. And now that we have that being returned, actually, why is, hold on one second. Why is this? Okay. I was wondering why this was underlined. You know, code editors and IDEs and things like that have a lot of cool features in them to help you out. Basically, this is saying it's not red, so there's nothing wrong per se. It's kind of a warning. But basically, because this is capitalized and I'm exporting this for something else to use it, it's basically saying it needs a comment. I'm kind of saying what it is, so I can just say function string returns reversed string. Cool. So comments are just a way for you to be able to provide some information in your code, and the code editor will the compiler or whatever's you know, running your code, your interpreter will ignore the things that are commented. Different languages have different commenting paradigms. It's / for Go. If you're unsure and you're using VS Code, you can highlight and hit control forwards backslash, control backslash, and it will automatically fill it in for you depending on what your language is. It's pretty cool if you don't know how to what the if you don't know what the commenting paradigm is in the language you're using. So we'll save that. Why is it giving me some more errors? Oh. It's basically telling me a way that it wants me to, I think it's the lint or yeah, go lint. So Linters, I have a linter installed for Go by default. Linters are something that kind of just checks your code against best practices. You can kind of set up your own in there if you like, and make sure things are set up accordingly so that your code can be as clean as possible. It's basically just saying this should be in the form of string ... whatever. So cool. Our code doesn't look like it has any problems. I can't really run it without doing a bunch of weird stuff. So let's go ahead and run our tests. Let's actually run them without this being returned first. Or actually, let's just comment this out. We won't return anything. I want the test to fail first, so let's hop back into Hyper. Even though I could have done it right there. And in here, we read in the README, it tells us how to do it. To run these, to run the tests, run the command go test from within the exercise directory. So I'll just copy go test. I already know that I'm in this exercise directory. I can see the files here. And I'll just run go test. Cool. So it spits out, it runs some stuff, spits out, lets us know right here on the left that we've failed. And that it tried, but it also tells us why, which is pretty cool. It's missing a return at the end of the function. That's not what I wanted to show you, but that's pretty cool that Go does that. So let's return it. Let's copy this. I want to return it broken so you can see what kind of errors it gives. Let's paste that. Let's actually just return. Let's return the reversed array and not the reversed string. That wouldn't work because it's not in, well, no. How can I break this? Let's just comment everything out. And see. Let's see what happens if I comment everything out. And return. Just return S. I'm just gonna return what gets passed in. Let's go back. Go test. All right, yeah, this is what I was looking for. I was looking for the output is usually pretty good for these testing suites. So it says it ran it, and it actually passed on an empty string, which is right why you write more than one test. So it looks like it actually passed on, this test case. So an empty string. It passed in this and returned this, and you can kind of see here we passed that in and returned exactly that. So that actually should pass, but this is why you need multiple test cases to unit test your code, because different inputs, usually warrant different outputs. So let's go back into here, and then it lets us know on the very next one it failed. So it failed on a word, which was robot. It expected Tobor, which is the reverser robot, but it actually got robot back. So it did get something back, but it is not equal to what it expected. So cool. That's just I just want to show you how when you run the test, how it gives you, what kind of output it gives you if you're doing things wrong, if you haven't got things quite right yet, and so you can see that. You could also go through and kind of comment out test cases if you want to work through, if you're troubleshooting and you're trying to make sure your stuff works for each one, and it's failing on one, you can kind of figure out which ones are working, which ones aren't, and kind of do things that way if you'd like. But let's go ahead and set everything back up the way it is. Cool. So this is the code. We are going to run go test one more time. Whoa. Okay. It looks like it passed in a bunch of emoji characters. Where did that happen? Maybe it did. I don't know. That's weird. Is there another one in here? Multi-byte. Maybe it was this. Maybe this is the one that passed in. I don't know. The output was weird. I actually wasn't expecting that at all. But it did pass, but okay, yeah, it shows you some. Did it pass? Yeah, it's super odd. I actually don't know what all this is and how it got like this. No idea. But yeah, but we did pass. We did pass the tests, and that's how you know your stuff's working. So we've coded basically our solution. We've coded it to what's going on here, which is pretty cool. And so that's how you can use Exorcism to kind of code against, and it can kind of help you solve these problems. You could also, if you'd like, you can also add more tests if you want. This kind of already has all the test cases, but I could change these. I could modify them accordingly. It really does help you learn how to write these unit tests. And again, unit tests are tests that just test the functionality of a piece of code. You give it an input and output, and you kind of ensure that when that gets passed in, when your input gets passed in, that when the code runs, you get out what you expected, which is pretty cool. But that actually took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, and I don't have a ton of time now. What time is it? Yeah, I don't think we can get through any of these in the time that I have left. So if anyone has any questions, definitely post those in the chat. I'm going to push this up to GitHub. So again, I posted up the GitHub repo in the chat earlier. So what we're going to do now is we are going to, let's go ahead and copy reversestring.go. We're going to copy that into, I have the repo pulled down somewhere over here, Crucible, go. So I'm going to change that directory. So just to show you from the command line, documents Crucible go is the same thing. If I want to click on my files here, click on my documents just like normal. I don't know if I can make this larger. Yep, I have this folder called Crucible, and I have a folder called Go. So you can kind of see the path I took here, so you kind of see what's going on here is this exact same thing as what's happening on your desktop. So I copied this reverse string.go in here, and actually that's what I wanted to do. I don't need to copy in all the folders. I just need to copy in the file. So cool. So now I have this new thing here. So this is a Git repo. So if I do git status, it lets me know that I have a new file here and that it's untracked. So this is the file that we just copied in, the file that we just worked on. So we're going to go ahead and add that. So if you don't know the Git workflow, well, one, I actually did a live stream on Git a few weeks ago. This will also be another YouTube video for something that's long standing. But we're going to be using GitHub to as our source code, repository, or version control as well. But this is a repository that we can use to all upload code to the same code base. If anyone else does any of these and wants to upload their solutions, feel free. You can fork this, and we'll go over that later in another video. You can fork it. And you can, submit a PR, and I will add your solution in. If you have one, just throw your name in there in the comments or something so people know it's yours. And so we're going to add this file. Git add. Whoops, I didn't even type add. So the Git workflow is usually, you have a file that you want to, keep track of. You want to first add it to your repository so that it can be tracked. You want to commit it, which basically kind of takes a snapshot of it, does some diffing things in the background, creates a patch. So you commit it with a little message saying, what you did, and then you want to, so that commits it locally. So in your own local Git repository, everything's kind of up to date and saved. And then you can do something called Git push, and you can push those things up to GitHub or to whichever source code repository you're using, central source code repository you're using. And so we're going to add that file, and then we're going to commit it, and I'm going to say solved the reverse string exercise on exorcism using Golang. Let's do that. So you usually want these to be as descriptive as possible. tell people exactly what you did. These commit messages will get put up into GitHub so people can follow along. We'll do that. And then we will git push. And so I don't know, I don't know if I have I had this cool plugin installed. I don't know if it works in this, inside of this VM, but we're gonna push it. And so when I push it, it's actually gonna give me an error the first time. This will happen. Actually, no, it's not. This is not a new branch. You can create a new branch. It'll give me an error. But if I get push, I get a cool rocket animation. Yeah, cool. I get this cool Falcon rocket that blasts off every time I push something. Same thing happens if I pull. It'll come back down and land. But it gives you some information here. And now we can check GitHub. And we can see now that just a minute ago I pushed something up here, and what I pushed was solve the reverse string exercise on exorcism using Golang. I can click in here and you can see these files. So that's what GitHub is. That's what a source code repository is. So, it's a repository for your code. It's got exactly what we did here. I actually really like the syntax highlighting of GitHub, which is pretty cool. And you can do cool things like blame to see who made changes to the files and things like that. There's a lot of stuff you can do here. But yeah, so now that stuff's up there, if you want to pull down the latest, if you want to mess around with the code that I wrote, you're more than welcome to do that. Besides that, what else do I have? Oh, completely forgot about this. I have this Echo Dot that I'm raffling off. Not really raffling off. I guess raffling off. All you got to do to be entered is to follow me. So if you're already following me, that you have an entry to the contest. I'm going to raffle it off next Thursday. I'll be raffling it off next Wednesday. Next Wednesday's live stream, I'll be raffling it off. If you are a subscriber, if you want to use your Prime sub for the channel, you actually get 5 entries into it. So if you're interested in it, definitely Prime sub for me or regular sub. But just follow. That's good enough. I've got a lot of promo material I've been working on. I've actually got a lot of workshops that I've been working on. Just because from all the feedback that I'm getting of things that people want to learn. People are interested in learning a whole lot. So I got some more things coming, but I'll keep everyone informed on what's going on there. Definitely follow me on social media. I'll post my handle at just about everything is MASTERMND.io. So follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be putting out my first YouTube video at the end of this week on Friday. Definitely follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff for more information. But if you have anything you want to learn, anything you're interested in, anything you want to go over, I'll definitely let me know, and I'll try to incorporate that. Wednesday's live stream. I know I keep saying I'm going to live stream on Wednesday. Well, I will be live streaming this Wednesday, and it will be we'll be using a static site generator. We'll either be using Jekyll. Either Jekyll or Hugo. We'll be building a quick website, really fast, super simple website. But we'll statically generate. We'll build it with a static site generator. We will set up Amazon Web Services. We'll grab an S3 bucket and set up static web hosting, and we will set up a Circle CI pipeline, either Circle CI or Travis CI, which will set up a CI/CD pipeline, or continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline, to be able to update our website, have it automatically build for us, run tests against it, mostly just build for us, and then push to an S3 bucket so it can be hosted and seen by everyone we want to see it. We'll definitely be doing that Wednesday for sure, unless I get hit by a car or something that sounds crazy. I hope that doesn't happen to me. But we will be doing that on Wednesday. So definitely tune in if you've ever wondered how to host a website or how you can quickly generate websites and kind of build them automatically and kind of set up this build pipeline. If you're interested in learning about CI/CD, this will help a lot, again, because we'll be using Travis and Circle. We'll be able to set that up, just it'll probably be a 2.5 hour live stream to kind of get through everything. But it will be pretty valuable. So definitely tune in on Wednesday. That's all I got for you. Definitely reach out on social media if you have any questions. And I hope to see you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.